All right, we're back with the B Block Goldilocks segment, and I see here that I forgot to put in one of my two players, but I'll do that while you're doing your first player. I'll start it off, though. Rank too high, okay? This is a former teammate of mine, fantastic player, obviously a guy that's can take the game over, can ruin game plans defensively for DCs, for corners, for linebackers when he's crossing the middle of the field. He was electric immediately upon entry in the Miami atmosphere, and then I don't know what the hell happened last year. And I'm not here to say that I'm going to bet on Tyreek Hill being the guy unless a number of things change in his life and his preparation, the way that he handles his business. He's at number 30 on Pete's list. And last year, I would have probably said he's not high enough at 30. I would argue that he was a top 25 guy last year going into last year's season. But this year, with all the hoopla surrounding Tyreek Hill, with all the question marks about Tua's ability to stay in the lineup, who's going to get Tyreek the ball? Is he going to be able to stay mentally in it the way that he was in Kansas City? See, that's the great thing about playing in Kansas City. It brings me back to my Mahomes point. When you've got Patrick Mahomes, you know you're going to be playing a meaningful football. You know you're going to have the opportunity week in, week out to showcase your skills. When you're in Miami, sure, you can have some 70-point games once a decade. But for the most part, there's turmoil. And when you're a guy like Tyreek Hill, you need to have a stalwart approach. You need to be a guy that shows up and is emotionless and just works. And that's not Tyreek, in my opinion. That's why I'm going to say he's too high.
Yeah, I get it. And to your point, Patrick Mahomes solves a lot of problems. When Tua's out there, things are clicking, and it's 85 degrees in South Florida in September, October, November. Yay. But if the backup has to come in and can't throw the ball, more than 5 yards down the field, and you see Tyreek's body language change. On some level, I understand it. But on the other hand, you're the leader in the locker room. You have to sort of get over that and be that leader. All that said, when I saw last week that he ran a 10-1-500 at age 29 or 30 or 31, I was like, all right.
He can run. Hey, he can run. But there's certain things that are in question there that are outside of,
Fair enough.
There's nobody on earth pretty much that's as explosive as Tyreek Hill on and off the field, which is an issue for me. I don't know. The best ability, I was always told, was dependability and availability.
Yeah.
And for Tyreek Hill, that comes into question sometimes.
Yeah, no, I get it. And 30's high. A couple wide receivers after him. I'll just ask you the totality of this player. So off the field and on the field, would you rather have this player or Tyreek? So Tyreek was 30. At 31's A.J. Brown.
Yeah, you know what? A.J. Brown, in my opinion, is a guy that you're going to get every week.
Yeah.
And there's no question about that. And I just think this conversation speaks more to the things. There are distractions in A.J. Brown's, career that we've talked about ad nauseum on these shows, the book on the sideline.
By the way, for the record, I do not care about him reading that. Of all the books to read, I'm fine with you reading that book.
Go read the book. You know what? You want to go make some plays, go read the book. I don't care what book it is. There's a few books it can't be, but for the most part, I don't care what book it is, Ryan. But for Tyreek, moving on. So who do you have as a player ranked too high?
I have too high. And the moment I wrote this down, and again, this was sort of an anti-Prisco screed, but I went and double-checked. Derrick Henry, he's only 31. It feels like Derrick should be like closer to 41.
Yeah.
And so I went back and I wrote his name down. Then I went back to bolster my argument, went back and looked at the stats. And the stats all support the argument that he is, in fact, not too high at 14. But a running back, 31 years old, 14th on the top 100 list sounds bonkers. But then you go and check, and I'm sort of, not bolstering my argument here. He was third in success rate last year after Bijan and David Montgomery, even higher than Saquon. His EPA, sort of advanced metrics, he's top 5 in just about everything when it comes to running the football. But one of the reasons I didn't necessarily think he was 14th overall, age, whatever, productivity through the roof. But he's not the only show in town in terms of running the ball for Baltimore, right? It starts with Lamar. Justice Hill was there. So there's some argument that you could have gotten 65% of Derrick Henry from someone else that wasn't named Derrick Henry or would have been 14th on this list. That said, the Ravens re-upped him, gave him a new contract. And even at age 31, I suspect he rushed for 1,900 yards last year. Like, I didn't even realize that until I double checked. Saquon. So he's not going to rush for 1,900 yards this year, but I'm not going to take anything away from him. I think he's a smidge too high. I should have checked the stats before I wrote his name down, but I just reflexively did it. And this isn't an anti-Derrick Henry screed. This is more 31-year-old running back at 14 sounds crazy screed.
You ever been to Amish country?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So I love Amish country. I think it's like the slice of Americana that I hope exists forever because these people work so hard. And you know who else works hard there because they don't have tractors? The horses. And it's like you get gifted a horse at 14 and you do 50 years of work with a horse and it's still there with you. That's Derrick Henry. Okay. You don't need a tractor. It's like, what was it? John Henry, the guy who built the railroad tracks faster than the railroad could be built. It was like the ancient, the tall tales. That's Derrick Henry, man. They could write books about this guy. And to your point about his numbers last year, it's just kind of a matter of fact deal with him. I'm going to go too high. Jordan Mailata.
Oh, I was going to ask you about that. Okay.
So, and it's not because he's not a great player. I mean, obviously, I am super jealous of his physical tools, his ability to learn the game of football, to be able to play in that room, win Super Bowls. He's got the voice of an angel. The voice of an angel. Chris Stapleton was stopped in his tracks by Jordan Mailata's voice. But the problem is 3 scrolls on my mouse wheel down. That's what it takes me to get to Tristan Wirfs and Penei Sewell.
Oh,
now Peter Pumpkin Eater, Prisco. What's the deal? What gives here? I understand having Lane Johnson at 12. But just because they're on the same damn team doesn't mean they need to go 12 and 13. I would argue that, without moving Wirfs and Sewell, you take Lane Johnson, you keep him at 12, and you move Mailata down to 20 and a half, right between Wirfs and Sewell. You can put them all in the same zip code. Look, we have the Baskin Robbins of offensive tackles in the National Football League. There's 31 flavors, man. Just go in there and put your spoon into one of the tubs. You're going to like the way it tastes. All right. We've got great offensive tackles right now. I'm not even talking about the guys in Los Angeles with Joe Alt and Rashawn Slater. But yeah, mine's Jordan Mailata. He's a fantastic player. He's probably going to end up with a Hall of Fame resume. He'll probably have one of the largest gold jackets there ever was. But I think Lane Johnson's it's not a Mount Rushmore with Lane Johnson. It's a standalone Lane Johnson mountain. And it's kind of disrespectful to Lane to put Mailata right there with him.
That's hardcore. I would not say that because I am neither physically imposing enough to say it or have the pedigree to say it, but I will respect your opinion to say it.
Bro, if I say that Jordan Mailata is Tristan Wirfs and Penei Sewell, like they should be jumping up and down from wherever Mailata's from and thrilled, ecstatic, because those two guys are probably going to be gold jacket guys too. And I just said that Mailata's probably going to sing the national anthem when they induct him. Like,
that's fair.
They have a spoils in Philadelphia. But Lane Johnson has done so much since 2013 that he belongs to have he is owed a buffer between Mailata.
No, that's fair. By the way, that O-line room mysteriously musical with Kelsey writing Christmas songs and Mailata's musical talents.
They are the Renaissance men. That's what they are. They can do a little bit of everything.
Well, you've said it before, Kyle. The smartest people out of football come out of the offensive line room. So there you go. More proof.
Come on.
All right. You want to know my guy, number 2?
Yep.
Again, this is very disrespectful coming from me, but and I love this guy. But Jaden Daniels at 33 seems extremely rich. Especially, look, ahead of Jalen Hurts. I don't understand that Jalen Hurts, and this isn't directed at Pete, but just in general, that people think Jalen Hurts isn't very good because he plays on a great team that Howie Roseman put together. Okay. Jalen Hurts was part of the team that Howie put together that made that team great. But he's 20 spots behind Jaden Daniels. The thing with Jaden is just a one-year situation, and it's lights out. Like he has been so much fun. And Pete's exactly right. No player had improved his draft stock more his last year in college than Jaden Daniels. And I would even include Joe Burrow in that coming when he came over from Ohio State and played 2 seasons at LSU, I believe. But 33 just feels like you're setting this young man up to fail. Not that Jaden's going to read this list and or care. But if you came back next year and told me that he was 50, where Justin Herbert currently finds himself. Is that a disappointing season for Jaden? Did 20 other people play better than Jaden? So I'm just a little cautious. I want to pump the brakes on all the young players making their way high on this list. Jaden in year one was awesome. I just want to take it slow.
I'm split down the middle on this because when I read where Jaden Daniels is, I'm not surprised, because I watched it last year and I saw the electric factor that he brings, the X factor he brings to the Commanders. But to your point, it's that novelty that weighs heavy on some of these numbers. I mean, I think Brock Bowers is 22.
Yep.
Let me look at the list here again. I think Brock Bowers is 22, man. I mean, but it doesn't feel wrong, right? It doesn't feel wrong to have a guy like Brock Bowers, who may be the best tight end in football, up there, because if Travis Kelce had a season like Brock Bowers, we would 100% have Travis Kelce in the top 15, right?
Hey, can I ask you a quick question? As you look at the 22 is Brock Bowers, 25 is George Kittle, and if you're starting a team tomorrow only for one season and you said you have to take Brock Bowers over George Kittle, you probably wouldn't be angry about it.
Man, oh man, I wouldn't be angry, but we're not going to be doing what I love to do, and that's running the football effectively, because George Kittle becomes OL6 for your offensive line.
I asked the wrong guy.
Look, 78 catches, 8 touchdowns last season for Kittle. He just got paid. It's an opportunity for him to reprove himself with essentially a retooled San Francisco 49ers team. I fully anticipate him stepping up in a big way with all the question marks on offense. But for Brock Bowers, they're going to be at 12 personnel. Geno Smith's going to be hitting this guy all day, twice on Sunday, and they're going to be running the football. He is going to learn how to block a little bit too. Not that he can't block, but he's going to get better for sure.